Greetings and welcome to this third appendix in our series on the M33 trading process. This presentation demonstrates how to declutter the M33 monitor layout as it appears to those who use TradingView as their display software. Begin by opening your browser and navigating to TradingView.com. Beginning from this default TradingView.com splash screen, close what you can, such as this Google blurb. Then come up to the upper left corner to the main setup menu, click on it and select products, and then select supercharts. And you'll find yourself in the default layout, which isn't that far off from where you want to go to create a decluttered M33 monitor screen. I'd suggest you come over here and grab the separator that's in the middle of this vertical column here and pull it down to get it out of the way, so that all you have at the bottom now is the ticker, a mention of the ticker that you're currently highlighting. And because it's the ticker currently highlighted, that's the chart that shows up in the chart frame. You can change that at will. You click on anything, any ticker in your watch list will automatically change the chart on the left. In my setup, I happen to prefer the dark background. Oh, let's close this other ad down here. So if you come up to the left menu and click on it, you can come down to dark mode and select dark mode, and that's the one I prefer to use. And just click in the open space and the setup menu will disappear. You can see we're already getting closer. I then come over to watch list, and by the way, this icon in the upper right corner here will actually close the watch list, and if you click it again, it'll open the watch list. So it's a little bit of additional decluttering you can do. If all you want to do is concentrate on the chart, you can close the watch list, fill the entire screen with the chart. And little generic things you can do here, of course, is if you come down to the date bar, you can stretch it in any direction you like. And you can even go back several years if you'd like. If you want to check out the general trends that have occurred over the years. We're now back in 2020. You can take it back even further than that if you like. There, we're in 2017 now. So that's from right now. I'm recording this on August 21st of 23. And I'm having a look all the way back to 2016. So that's not bad. 6 or 7 years. So if you're trying to establish what the main trends were, when it was going up, when it was coming down, and so forth. Normally, when I'm setting up a chart, I use only 3 or 4 months to decide the current trend. And then within that, I can come down to even less, and I use this type of a setup to figure out my range edges. To do that, come over to the trend line icon. I use what's called a horizontal ray. And if you select it, you can come in here and, depending on what method you prefer to use, I'll leave that up to you, of course. You can come in and set an upper and lower edge to your trading range. Double clicking on those lines lets you come in and change the colors. And I usually like to make my upper edge green and my lower edge red. And there you have a basic chart showing the price. In this case, it's on the daily time frame. And I can now bring the up to the upper right here, come back in and put your watch list back in. And if you'd like to keep these generic, oops, here we go. When you get to a certain stage in this process, they'll come back and bother you and say, look, you should create your free generic account. Please do that so that we'll let you continue. And so you go ahead and do that. I'll leave you to do that on your own. I'm not going to bother demonstrating that whole process. What I'll do is just try to sign in using one of my fake accounts that I use. And there. We should be able to continue here now. So I'll come back up here and put the watch list back in again. And one of the first things I do is I come to the settings for the watch list and I clear the list. And then if you come to the plus sign and add any ticker, I'll add gold for now. And that has the effect of clearing the watch list as well. It's now nice and decluttered. And you can then use the plus sign here to add in any tickers that you like to follow. Let's put just a couple more in. Put in the S&P 500, and let's put in the inverse ETF that we use to pseudo short the S&P 500. So now we have 3 tickers in our watch list. They will normally then want you to name the watch list in order to be able to continue doing stuff. So if you do rename, you should be able to come up here and type in a name for your watch list. Let's just call it watch list number 1. Shall we be formal so our grade school teachers will be proud of us by putting a capital in to start the word? Does that look a little bit better? And so there you have the name of the watch list, your tickers, and on this side, oh, I accidentally moved that red line. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that at all. Oh, I hadn't moved the red one, I'd moved the green one. Okay, let's come and put them back where they belong here. There. So there's your basic price panel, the M33 price panel with the edges and the watch list. The question now becomes, how do you add the other 2 panels? You do that by coming up to the indicator menu, and clicking on it gives you a list of all the indicators that are available to you. So I'm going to pause here for just a second, and then we'll continue in a moment with how to add the 3 panels. So carrying on with the decluttering process, within the chart, right click, and this menu comes up, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you come to Settings. And it's in here that we'll remove a whole bunch of the unwanted stuff. Beginning at the top one is the symbol, and I pretty much leave that on default. I don't change anything about that. But on the status line, I changed quite a bit. I remove the logo because all it is a logo here that indicates the exchange on which the ticker trades. And I don't need to know that every second of every day, so I remove it. On the title line, instead of having the ticker and a description of it, which is very wordy, I changed that to just the ticker. And then all these other things pretty much I remove. I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that, on an ongoing basis, day after day. Leave the background alone by default, that's fine. Then the scales. Since I have the ticker name on the status line, I don't really need it on the scales. I can leave the symbol for the last price or take it off. Here, just to try and show you what that means, is if you want to have the ticker repeated on here, and I don't. It's good enough to have it up there, so I take it off. I take off the bid and ask. I take off the high and low. I leave no overlapping on for what it's worth. And for the moment, I'll leave these scale modes, currency, and unit. What the heck? Let's change it. Change it to always invisible. You can always come back in and put them back on later if you decide you want them. I don't need the day of the week on my labels. I've deselected that. My date format, I prefer the international format of year, month, day. So I select it. And I also prefer the time in the 24-hour clock as well. Next you come to Canvas. And let's see what we might be able to remove here. The navigation pane and the pane. Let's change these to always invisible for now. We'll probably come back in and change the pane one to something visible temporarily while we move the panes around. But for now, I'm just going to leave it off. Then on trading, it just happens that my particular broker does not have an arrangement with TradingView. So I'm unable to trade directly from TradingView with my broker. So I don't need to see the buy and sell buttons, which are up here. So I remove them. And notifications, all events, the rest is pretty well okay. And finally, to events, some people like to have the little icon on there. I'll show it to you. Oh, there isn't one on this one right now, showing that there's a news story available. But I take that off for now too, and just, you can see I'm being pretty damn radical here. And I come back and boy, it really does get to be pretty pristine. By the way, these windows that I keep closing. That's a function of it being the completely freebie version. It is frequently popping up, little pop-up windows trying to entice you to do something or other. I'll leave it to you to decide what level you want to subscribe to. If you keep this free version, you'll have to deal with those periodically during the day. I personally, since most of you watching this have come to it through Hedgeye, you're obviously not entirely in the poorhouse to be able to afford Hedgeye subscriptions, and therefore the lowest level of paid subscription for TradingView is $15 a month. So that's under $200 a year. And that would get rid of all of these ads and pop-ups. But I'll leave that to you. The subscriptions are roughly $15 a month, $30 a month, or $60 a month. The difference between them is the number of watch lists and the number of screen layouts you can have concurrently. I find the free version a little bit too constraining. The $15 a month one is probably okay for basic trading and so forth. It really reaches its full power and so forth with the $30 a month version. So, you're beginning to get up into $400 a year, which isn't insignificant, but it's also not backbreaking for anyone that can afford the other major subscriptions for data services and so forth. But anyway, I'm not going to make any value judgment on that. I'll leave it with you, and we'll just carry on here with our decluttering. So we now have about as clear a version of the basic display and watch list as we're going to get. The next step then becomes adding the indicator that gives us the magic that we call M33. So you come to the indicator icon here, and under indicators you come down and you come down to the letter M, and you want moving average convergence divergence. That's the one that we use to build M33. Click on it and then come back to your screen, and you'll have the default old-fashioned MACD indicator that's been around for decades and decades and decades and is the complete freebie that I refer to in the videos that introduce M33. So let's do a little bit of decluttering and basic configuration of it, and you do that by right-clicking on it. And then the same thing, come down to settings. And this is where the magic begins. You come in here and you sort it out. Let's begin with, we'll just walk through it. What the heck? There's nothing really to change under symbol. Under status line, scales, canvas, trading, and events. Those are the chart settings. If you now want to configure the actual indicator itself, rather than right-clicking on the charts as we just did, now right-click right on the indicator. And then select settings for that. And this is where the magic begins. We often refer to the M33 as just she's a very, very oddball MACD. The old traditional parameters are up here, and we get a little bit radical. We change the 12 to just 1. We change the 26 to 33. We leave it based on the daily close, or the period close. And the signal smoothing, we changed from a 9 to a 3. You can leave it as the exponential moving average as the basis for it. And now you get into the more personal stuff. I happen to prefer, and please don't feel bound by this, it's an old habit from the days when I still used to use moving average crossovers between the 8 period and the 21 period, and they were colored red and blue and so forth, and I'm so old and used to the red line being the one that kicks me in the butt and makes me do something. So I put my MACD line in red, and I put the signal line in the background as blue, for what that's worth. Why don't we come back out and take a quick look here just to see what that looks like? And you can see when it crosses over coming down, my red line of my ticker crosses the blue line coming down, and sure enough, the price begins to fall. Conversely, when the red line of my ticker crosses above the blue line, the price begins to rise. And that's all you need to do to check it. When you set those parameters in, if you want to be sure they're working properly, just come back in and look for really clear crossovers. And here's another one down here. Lift this up a little bit. Where it crosses over, the red ticker crosses above the blue here. And sure enough, your price starts to climb. That's all you need to do to check to make sure that you've got it configured properly. Then again, now we're just into personal preference. I also come in here to the momentum bars, and I set the colors on those a little bit differently as well. This is how they have it set up here. They want to allow you that when it's increasing in momentum above the line or increasing in momentum below the line, that's what these are here. I tend to make my growing one above the line a little bit darker, and if it's getting smaller, I make it a little bit brighter. I made it a little too bright, didn't I? I'll make the darker one just a little bit darker yet. Do I want it that much? Why not? We'll leave it that dark for now. Can always come back in and change it later. Then come and do the same thing to below the line. We now, and oddly enough, this is counterintuitive, but it's the reverse. We want the grow to be a bit lighter, and we want the deceleration to actually be a bit darker, and we'll leave it at that for now. Now, just in case you're wondering what's going on here, the crossovers are still there. The red line crosses over the blue, the price begins to fall. But what this lets you do now is to very quickly eyeball these momentum bars. And you can see that when they're lighter colored and therefore yell at you a little bit, it's indicating a change in momentum. It's begun to weaken here. Or in the case of the red one, when it gets lighter, it begins to weaken. And that's interesting and valuable to you, because combined with the actual line itself, the momentum bars give you a little bit of a heads up of when the price direction might reverse. I'd suggest that when you get to this stage, that you come up here above the watch list where the name of your tab is, and click on Save, which saves all your charts for all of the symbols in your watch list so that you don't lose the work you've already done. For example, if you come over to the watch list here now and select gold, it'll switch to the chart for gold without losing. And by the way, notice all these colors have changed too. It's now a template throughout the whole system for you. But more importantly, your lines of edge to your range, if you go back to the dollar, they're still there. They might have moved around on the screen a bit. You have to adjust them, but at least your lines are still there. And every time you click on that little save button up here, that saves your entire layout for all of the tickers that are in your watch list, so that you can come back to them at any point you like. And that's very close to all you need to worry about. We're on the daily time frame here right now. And when you click on that, you have all of the time frames available to you. I can't quite remember where I got it to do that. There was a setting somewhere that just locked it on the daily, weekly, monthly, or something like that, and I removed a little ticker which made available all these other sub time frames. I don't quite remember where that was. Come into settings here and see if we can quickly spot it. I won't spend a lot of time on it. I don't see anything there. Status line. Anyway, I'm sure you'll stumble on it at some point. If you find that you don't see all of your time frames that you'd like to have, oh, here's something I didn't retain. I meant to change that to 24-hour. Okay. On the canvas gradient, not sure, trading and events. Let's leave it for now. I'm sure you can come back in later. If you suddenly find that you don't have these other time frames available to you, go and hunt for that ticker that tick that you can remove that allows all these other time frames to show up. And as you know from the training ones, I use the daily one to set to discern the trend and to set my ranges and range edges. And then I spend most of the day, I hang out in the 4-hour one as just a general place to hang out and watch the day unfold. And then if I get close to a situation that looks like it's ripe for an actual trade, I'll probably come up here and zoom down in from the 4-hour to the 2-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, and so forth to get in even closer to what's actually going on and decide which of these crossovers now in the 1-hour I might want to actually trade on. But for the most part, during the course of the day, I hang out on the 4-hour as a way of just more relaxedly monitoring what's going on during the course of the day. And that is pretty much it for setting up a clearer, less cluttered view of what's going on in the world of financial investment and trading. Those of you that have watched the videos know that there is a third panel that's a wonderful addition to all of this. We call these the price panel on the top, the signal panel in the middle, and there's another one we call the alert panel that goes down below. I'll cover that on another frame because I don't think it's available in this freebie version. We'd have to go to the first level of the paid subscription in order to have access to that proprietary script. So we'll take another pause here, and I will come back using a higher level of access to show the addition of that third panel. I just noticed here that on the watch list, we're still showing these logos, which are only an indication of which market or exchange they're trading on. You might want to get rid of those too. I just find I don't need any of that kind of nonsense. So try coming into the settings for this, and here's the little ticker here for logo. Click it, and you'll find that that thing disappears. I also find I don't need both the change denominated in dollars and cents and the change in percentage. So same thing, you can come in here, and where it lists the columns, let's remove the change in percentage. And now you find you've got lots of space between them. Come and grab your separator between the chart and the watch list and scrunch it over a little bit. And that gives you more room for your chart, because you don't need as much for the watch list. So that lets you wiggle around here and do more observing and more studying on your charts. Let's leave it at that for now, and I'll come back in a bit with the first level of the paid version so that we can see the third panel. And finally, to get the third panel, we've named this one our price panel. We've named this one the signal panel, because the red crossing over the blue signals a change in direction. In this case, the red is crossed over downwards, and sure enough, the price began to fall. So all we're missing really is the alert panel, which is like looking through a pair of binoculars, that by turning the little focus knob, you can have the depth of field looking out over the terrain ahead of you, have the depth of field focus on different time frames from a minute to a week. And the way you bring up that indicator is to come up to the indicator button. And I hasten to remind you, this is now using a subscription that has been paid for. And I think you can get at this with even the $15 a month one. So you come up and you select it, and then within it come to community scripts written by members of the local community. And then in search, type in MACD space, then MTF for multiple time frame. And if you want to type in the full name, you put in lines, and up comes, guess who? Our much beloved and appreciated brother in this whole operation, Danilo, who was a regular participant on the Hedgeye Arena forum, but has since begun to operate more frequently on other fora around the net. But nonetheless, he's the one who scripted the panel for us. And if you select it, that's all you have to do. Close off, and there she be. We can describe it a little more in keeping of what it involves here. But essentially, that is the third panel. I use this one, and I've got it completely decluttered too. At some point I came in here and I right-clicked on it, and I went to settings, and inside here on all of these lines I went through and removed, especially on the status line, they had all of these things all selected. so that it was full of, if the titles was on, you had the title on it. If the arguments was on, you had all the arguments as well. And I simply removed all these ticks, including the logo, which, as I said before, is just the one that shows the exchange that it trades on. You don't really need that. So all told, you now have the most pristine and clear, uncluttered display possible, where you've got the price panel, the signal panel, and the alert panel, and the fourth panel, of course, is your watch list. And that's where most of us live. If you want stuff, you can add it back in, but for the most part, this really is the core of what you need to make decisions every day. Where you come in and you notice where the price is, its altitude between the two edges. You notice whether it's crossed over recently and in which direction. You notice how much momentum it's had in the crossover, and you notice whether you have partial or full concordance across all the time frames where they've all crossed over in the same direction. And that's largely what you make your decision on to enter into a trade. And then by watching for a reversal in all of this, you know when to get out and either take profit or get out completely as a stop loss because it's no longer going in the direction you prefer. And that's pretty much it. That concludes our discussion of how to declutter the M33 monitor layout. If you have any questions, by all means leave me a message and I'll add additional slides to the deck or edit the existing ones to compensate for those shortcomings. Thanks very much, and bye for now.